A cat, a raccoon, a mungus, a weasel, all in one. And yet neither, since it doesn't quite look like either of them, of course. And as far as we know, each particular member of the species has its own combination of black or dark brown stripes, spots, and blotches on a white, cream, light brown or gray background. So let us meet this animal with a rocking mane on his back, and thus starts another mammal series. African civet is the name of this beautiful creature, and when it comes to scientific name, technically speaking, there is only one such name, namely Civetictis civetta. If you take that name and add words such as congica or schwarzi or australis or folkmanni or pauli, you will get names for this animal's subspecies. However, Vivera civetta is older scientific name that this species was referred to in the past. Alternative names are Alzabad, Zabad, Zibad, Sinavr, and Kankane. Collectively, they are known as pack or mob. Both genders are referred as civet, while the young are referred as cubs. African civets are found in the sub-Saharan parts of Africa. They avoid the desert countries in northern Africa and the dry ones in the southern tip. African civets are most commonly found in tropical forests and jungles and areas where there is plenty of dense vegetation to provide both cover and animals that the African civet feeds on. African civets are never found in arid regions and always must be in an area which has a good water source. Despite this though, it is not uncommon for African civets to be found along rivers that lead into the more arid regions. They are nocturnal creatures, spending the daylight hours resting in the safety of the trees high above. The African civet is a solitary animal that only comes out under the cover of the night to hunt and catch food. Despite this, it is not unheard of for them to gather in groups of up to 15 members, particularly during the mating season. The females are polyesterous, which means they can have more than 1 litter in a year, and the female may give birth to 2 to 3 litters in the same year. Gestation lasts for 60 to 70 days. A litter contains 1 to 4 cubs. The cubs have relatively mature features at birth compared to the young of many other mammals. They are completely furred, though they are mainly black in color. They are also able to crawl immediately after being born. The young leave the nest after 18 days, but are still dependent on the mother for milk and protection for another 2 months. The female is reproductively mature at around the age of 1, and male reaches maturity 2 to 3 months before female. Male head and body length is between 67 and 84 centimeters, i.e. 26 and 33 inches, with a 34 to 47 centimeters, i.e. 13 to 19 inches long tails, and a weight range from 7 to 20 kilos, i.e. 15 to 44 pounds. And females themselves are somewhat smaller than males. Its shoulder height averages around 40 centimeters, i.e. 16 inches. African civets can live for 14 to 20 years, though in the wild most of them don't live nearly that long. By some reports, the longest lifespan of an African civet is up to 28 years. Though this animal is classified in order Carnivora, it follows an omnivorous diet. Small animals such as rodents, lizards, snakes, and frogs make up the majority of the African civet's diet, along with insects, berries, and fallen fruits that it finds on the forest floor. It often pounces on its prey and shakes it in order to kill it. All of these animals are good swimmers if there is a suitable area of water in their habitat. They will catch and eat crabs and fish. African civets are said to eat the fruit of the strychnose tree. Some sources say that they can withstand the strychnine in the seeds of the fruit. Green grass is also frequently found in feces, and this seems to be linked to the eating of snakes and amphibians. And speaking of feces, African civets deposit theirs in large piles called latrines, or specifically civetries. The latrines are characterized by fruits, seeds, exoskeletons of insects and millipede rings, and occasionally clumps of grass. Ah, circle of life is such a wonderful thing. Speaking of which, let us go to the other side of that circle with... Despite being a secretive yet relatively ferocious predator, African civet is actually preyed upon by a number of other predators within their natural environment. Large predatory cats are the most common predators, which includes lions and leopards. Predators can be also reptiles such as large snakes and crocodiles. If an African civet feels threatened, it raises its dorsal crest to make itself look larger and thus more formidable and dangerous to attack. This behavior is a predatory defense. African civet populations are also under threat from both habitat loss and deforestation, and have been subject to trophy hunters in the past across the continent. One of the biggest threats to the African civet is the want for their musk. Musk, you ask? Yes, their musk, more specifically male musk, since their one is stronger than female one. Because believe it or not, we are willingly putting that thing all over ourselves. For years, to be precise. Since you know, no perfume can go without that thing. In recent years, there are chemical alternatives. But if it says on the label that it has natural ingredients, you can bet your backside that it contains the real stuff. In its concentrated form, the smell is said to be quite offensive to people, but much more pleasant once diluted. Each African civet secretes up to 4 grams of musk every week, which is normally collected from African civets in the wild. However, the capturing and keeping of African civets for their musk is not unknown, and it is said to be incredibly cruel industry. They are typically kept in small cages not much bigger than their body. This enables their perennial glands to be easily reached and musk to be removed by scraping a gland, which is almost certainly a painful process. Most die within 3 weeks after capture, most likely due to stress. However, one research has made a potentially helpful discovery. If metal bars of a specific size are placed in a civet's enclosure, the animal will rub its perineal glands over them, depositing musk. After that, the musk can be collected. When it comes to conservation, thankfully, they are still listed as least concern. Let us hope it stays that way. There was a woman in Africa, and she decided to set up a plantation. She will have sugarcane and potatoes and some chickens. The plantation was growing strong after some time has passed, but unfortunately 4 animals have come to the plantation: a civet, an antelope, a genet, and a tortoise. A civet spoke first. "I will not leave here till I eat up all this cane." Antelope said the same for potatoes, and genet the same for chickens. Only the tortoise refused to eat anything. When women returned and saw what has happened to the plantation, she screamed and yelled all the way home. And she sent her husband to hunt down the criminals. He chased each and every one of the 4. He shot and killed the first 3 and then skinned them. Tortoise, who has retreated in his shell, he carried home. The wife wanted to turn it into a soup, but before she can do that, the tortoise asked her to whom each skin belonged. And she replied. Then he asked her, "What crime have they committed to deserve such fate?" She replied yet again. And lastly, he asked her what crime he has committed to deserve to be cooked as a soup. She couldn't find any answer, so she let the tortoise go. Okay, it wasn't a story about the civet per se, but it was a good story, and I liked it. So, what can you do? Let us return to the topic with some parting words. This animal gets confused with so many other animals, but I hope after today you will not make that mistake. And I think we should leave it at that. And now I am going because there is a shower with my name on it.